Good evening. I would now like to call the Alexander County Board of Commissioners meeting for Monday, July 15th, 2024 to order. Appreciate everyone being here. At this time, I will provide our invocation, and following our invocation, Commissioner Marty Pennell will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would stand, if able, please. Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for the many gifts that you've given us. Thank you, God, for safety and your protective hand. Dear God, please be with us during this meeting. Help us to make decisions that will be pleasing to you and will help Alexander County to move forward. Heavenly Father, please put a special hedge of protection around our emergency services personnel, police officers, sheriff's department, fire departments, EMS, rescue squad. Dear God, help us this evening as we go to our respective homes. Keep us safe. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I would ask the commissioners if anyone has a report or any information they would like to share. Other than it's been really hot.
I will share that, yes, it has been very hot in our area, and the county does have two free venues that our folks can enjoy, and one is the splash pad up at the courthouse park in Taylorsville, and the other one is the new beach access that we have up in the Bethlehem area. Over the weekend, we actually rode out there to take a look at it, and there was several families out there enjoying and just having a good time. I think several of them found it was pretty hot to run across that sand from the water back up to the tables. That was kind of comical, but there is two free venues out there that families can enjoy.
Thank you, Commissioner Pennell. Anyone else?
Chairman, I just want to say that this past weekend could have been an extremely tragedy in our country. People lost their lives. Some were injured. For what reason? For no reason at all, as far as I'm concerned, except you wanted to show out in some way. It doesn't make any difference to me what your political affiliation is. Doesn't matter who you're going to pull for. Doesn't matter who you vote for. But folks, we have to learn to get together and to work with one another and to also respect each other's rights and not try to force things on people. Those things that happen because of somebody that had something bad wrong with him. It wasn't a gun that did it. It was the person that decided he had taken it in his own hands and tried to do something that should never happen in this country. And you know, this is the United States of America, folks. We're better than that. We're really good people. We're a Christian nation. And pray for this country. Pray for our leaders. And pray for those who are running for office. Because running for office and being a political candidate is extremely difficult. It's hard. You take abuse, you take good comments, you take bad comments. But respect the people that are trying to run for office to do the things they think that are the right thing to do. But don't use anger and hate and frustration and decide to take things in your own hands and hurt people. That's so wrong. That's so wrong. And I just wanted to say that because I love the United States. I love living in Alexander County. And the people here are some of the best people you ever find anywhere. And they care about one another. And I just want to express my opinion about what happened because it was a very sad thing. Very, very sad, very tragic for this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Yoder. Anyone else? If not, we will move right on. Item number 5 on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Gentlemen, you've had an opportunity to review the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve agenda as given.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously. Next item, public comment. Per the clerk, we did not have anyone sign up for public comment, so we will move right on. Next item is a public hearing pertaining to Sterling Road CDBG amendments. I would recognize Paul Tigg from the Western Piedmont Council of Government, where he is a Community and Economic Development Administrator. And do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to open public hearing. Is there any discussion, questions? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. We are now in public hearing, which means anyone in the audience or in attendance is welcome to speak. It means you don't have to just listen to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Coming before you tonight for the Sterling Road Community Development Block Grant Neighborhood Revitalization. We have an amendment that we're proposing, in which we're going to propose to add an additional $673,596 to the budget. Everything within that would go towards the road paving portion of the project. I left some material with you that showed the original preliminary opinion of probable cost from back in October of 2022. That was $276,404, and then a revised opinion that we received earlier this month that takes it up to $950,000. The amendment, we will, if approved, we will submit this to the state to get the additional funds. This would take the overall project budget from the road paving and the home renovations, the overall budget to $1,318,640. And I would emphasize that all of that is federal funding. There is no money coming from Alexander County to pay for this project. So I would just ask that we approve to seek this additional funding. I've been given every indication that that funding would be accepted. And if there's anyone here from Sterling Road this evening, I would enjoy meeting with you and discussing anything about the project. One thing I would assure those residents is that the houses are going to get renovated and the road is going to get done. We've just run into some delays, obviously, with some substantial cost adjustments.
Anyone have questions? Anyone from the audience have a question, or anyone like to speak pertaining to the Sterling Road revitalization? Yes, ma'am.
My name's Helen Chestnut, and I serve on the Western Piedmont Council of Government Policy Board. And originally, that loan, that grant was for $645,000, so I guess I'm confused how it went to this $950,000. That's what was published in the paper, and that's what was also said in the meetings, and I'm just sort of confused as to the differences, other than,
I will defer that question to Mr. Teague.
And what I would say is that the initial estimate that we had for the road portion was $276,000. When we began the process earlier this year of trying to procure an engineer, we were told that this is way off base. And obviously, within a couple years, prices had changed. That is a substantial increase, and that is what caused us to need to go back and seek additional funding. And there was just I would say that there was an initial miscalculation as to how much paving was going to be done. And that needed to be corrected. Now we have that corrected. Obviously, it's going to cost a bit more money.
Mr. Chairman, just one question.
Okay.
I remember back in '22 when it was, brought to us the first time. So the measurements was wrong, was that what? From
Yes.
379 to 759 feet now?
Yeah, there was, and there was an insistence upon the person who had looked at this that provided us the information that that was correct, and it was not correct.
Okay.
So,
So McGill is who you're still, they did the preliminary and they're gonna do the work, is that?
no, that is just their, we asked for them to provide a preliminary opinion. This will, when we do receive notice that the additional funding is in place, we will advertise for an engineer. McGill would certainly be permitted to submit an RFQ for that, as would any other engineering firm. But it was not McGill that made that initial mistake.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Because I'm kind of comparing the two, and
Oh, well, I did.
whoever did the original was way off because,
And I will say that the individual who did the application on our behalf tried to point that out repeatedly and to no avail. So,
So you think you can get the full grant? This won't come back to the county as far as the additional monies?
this is 100% federally funded. Every indication I've been given is that we make this request, they would accept the budget revision.
Okay, thank you.
so to recap, for the folks on Sterling Road up there and around it, there was an error made on linear footage of the pavement. The mistake was caught, and now it's being rectified to bring the funds in because it's fairly funded. Do we have a time frame on that, Mr. Teague?
If we can gain the approval on this, I would hope that we could gain approval within the next month for the new funding, and then we could re-advertise for the RFQ and have an engineering firm. What I would hope is that we would have an engineering firm and be able to have a contract awarded by the first of the year for the paving contract. Obviously, you're not going to get any paving done during the wintertime, but that they could begin the paving process come spring of next year. In the meantime, what we do want to do is take care of the scattered site portion of that grant for those eligible homeowners. And the scattered site portion is not affected by this budget revision. The bottom line is you can't pave half a road.
all right.
Very good.
Well, it's a great project overall. I mean, it's a,
It is, and,
it's,
you know,
it's, you know, and it is frustrating that it's been delayed, but it happening at some point is better than it not happening, so.
and of course, you know, doubling the size of what is going to be paved, well, you can see there have been, you know, substantial price adjustments in the last couple of years. Even with or without a need to increase the amount of paving, we would have been coming back to you for an additional funding request to the state, because I could, you know, I don't, there would have been no way, you know, even from that initial estimate, had even that been accurate, that it still would have been.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
this is the state specs, and the state will take this road over and keep it up?
The road is going to be built to NCDOT specifications, and it is hard to get the DOT to commit to anything, but it is certainly the hope and the desire that they will take over the road. It will be done to DOT specs.
Is this for the, have you been out to the site?
Yes,
Is this the whole road will be,
yes.
with this, will
Yeah.
make it the entire road paved? Okay.
I think it, you know, connects in with radio,
Yeah.
and, yeah.
Let's see if anybody else wants to.
So anyone else, would anyone else like to speak or ask a question? Mr. Howard, yes, sir. Please, I'll say, come, if you would come to the podium, please, sir.
Yes, I'm Sterling Howard, Reverend Sterling Howard. I'm resident of Sterling Lane. I've been trying to get something done about that road for 40 or 50 years. I talked to the town trying to get them to annex us in. They said it would cost too much. I invite any one of y'all to drive your car up Sterling Lane. I don't drive my car up that road no more than I have to. I use my four-wheel drive pickup. Cars have gotten stuck on that road. When it would rain hard, it would wash gullies out in that road. Something needs to be done. And I'm asking as taxpayers of this county, we support, I didn't support all of y'all, but I supported some of you. Because I've known some of you for years. And I'm not asking any special favors. I'm just think that this is the thing to do. I don't believe it's another unpaved road with 9 or 10 residents on it that's not paved within right around in this area. FedEx has mentioned it to me, say, why don't they do something about this road? UPS has questioned because they have to deliver on that road. So I'm just asking you fellows and ladies to do the right thing. And the right thing is to approve it. Because we as taxpayers, we feel like we deserve to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? If not, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor of closing the public hearing, please raise your right hand. I would ask for a motion pertaining to the Sterling Road CDBG amendments.
Make a motion to approve the CDBG amendment for Sterling Road.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or further discussion? If not,
I'd just like to say, I hope that this will put it to bed. I thought we had done it a couple years ago, so we want to get you some pavement out there, so, hopefully this will get it done. That's all I can say. Thanks, Chairman.
That's exactly right.
If there's no additional discussion, all in favor of approval, please raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Teague. Moving on, next item is public hearing rezoning case 2402, Hugo Albert Castillo Paz. And I would recognize Ben Falconberry, interim county manager. We need, do I have a motion to open public hearing?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Speed things up a little bit.
Good afternoon. Is Mr. Paz, or the owner of this parcel, present? Okay. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the property location is 7227 North Carolina Highway 16 South. In Taylorsville, it's approximately 2.22 acres. The applicant has submitted the petition for rezoning from mixed use to community commercial to allow for the use of automobile servicing business. It may be currently used, but it's previously been used as a used car lot there anyway. It's the first commercial business after you cross the bridge into Alexander County from Catawba over the Oxford Bridge. The vicinity, being Highway 16 South Thoroughfare, in which the subject property is located, is classified as a rural transition area by our future land use plan, with community commercial being meant to be utilized in such areas. So this parcel is a reasonable candidate for community commercial. Staff has found this petition to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. The Planning Board last week has adopted a statement affirming such, and staff recommends to the board approval of the application for rezoning.
Thank you, Mr. Falconberry. This is a public hearing, so anyone is welcome to speak or ask questions. Does anyone have any questions or would anyone like to speak to the matter?
Well, I'm pretty familiar with that property, pretty close to there where I live. It's the former Fairway Motors, I believe, is that?
That's correct.
And prior to that, it was a restaurant.
Yeah, restaurant.
Was it not?
I think so,
Yeah.
yes.
So it's a car lot. It's got to be rezoned to do, is it going to be
I think the
a
addition-
salvage yard?
I
or
think
is he
the
gonna?
additional use is for the servicing of cars.
Okay.
I think they may have a lift at that business already, but it's just not zoned for that particular use. The car lot is one thing, but once you start working on cars, I think is the difference maker here.
Okay. Wonder, I guess there'll be a lot of cars sitting around. You don't really know what he's planning on doing.
I'm not sure.
Well, I noticed it in the back down there, they put a fence up around the very back behind it, and you can't see through it, so
Yeah.
somebody's already, they already know that they need, I guess they're gonna do that, Sandow, they're gonna have cars parked back there.
I will say any future development, if they do decide to add on or do something else, would have to comply with our zoning regulations. This is just to move it to community, commercial.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Any other questions or statements? If not, gentlemen, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor of closing the public hearing, please raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Gentlemen, I would look for a motion pertaining to the rezoning case 2402 Hugo Alberto Castillo Paz.
I'd make a motion to approve the zoning request as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor of the rezoning, please raise your right hand. Thank you very much. Next item is public hearing pertaining to rezoning case 2403, Stephen and Christian Brown. I would once again recognize Ben Falconberry, our interim county manager. We do need a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor of opening the public hearing? We are now in a public hearing, which I won't repeat myself and make you listen to me all again over. Feel free to share if you would like. Mr. Falconberry.
Thank you, Chairman. This property is located on NC Highway 127 in Bethlehem. It's approximately 2.29 acres. This petition is a request to rezone the property from Residential District 1 to Community Commercial. The owners, Stephen and Christian Brown, previously went through the process of having this property rezoned from RA 20 to Highway Commercial to allow for a commercial self-storage. That was under our previous land use ordinance. During the countywide zoning map amendment adopted as part of the new land development code, the parcel was inadvertently rezoned back to residential. So the county has submitted a petition requesting the rezone back to a commercial use district. The vicinity of the parcel is classified as a community service center by the land use plan, which is intended to be an intensive, efficient, defined concentration of mixed services. This parcel is a reasonable candidate for community commercial as it is located on Highway 127 thoroughfare in a community service center. Staff has found this petition to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. And again, last week, the planning board has adopted a statement affirming such, and staff recommends approval of the application.
Anyone have questions and/or comments?
Is this property across from the Browns business already?
That's right.
Right across?
That's-
This is
that's it.
127.
Yeah, this is their current,
And this is the property here.
yeah, that's the EMS space.
Yeah, the EMS is directly behind our
Oh, okay.
EMS space.
And the
To the
coun-
s-
and the
so it's to
county
the
ain't-
side of it.
And the county, so, I think, actually gave them an easement,
But it's all commercial around it, isn't it?
and everything here and on the other side.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. And, well, and one thing I would say, like Mr. Falconberry said, this was brought to us, and I remember, because I've known the Browns my entire life. This was brought to us a year and a half ago or so. It was rezoned at that time to commercial. And this was obviously just a, you know, like I say, an error.
Oversight.
It was an oversight or a clerical error, as you say, when the new zoning went into effect, somehow it got put back to residential. Anyone else? If not, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of closing the public hearing, please raise your right hand. Thank you very much. Before we vote, I am going to recuse myself because I am the general contractor on the building that they plan to build, or actually are going to build. So I will recuse myself from the vote.
Mr. Chairman, based on that, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the fact that you're going to recuse yourself from this.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor of allowing me to recuse myself, raise your right hand. Wasn't sure if I need to vote on that or not, so.
Yeah,
I did, okay, so I agree.
no, I'm sorry, the vote was necessary.
Right, okay. At this, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the rezoning for Stephen and Christian Brown,
Second.
We have-
2403.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Passes 4-0. All right, thank you, Mr. Falconberry. Moving right along. Next item on the agenda is our VIA Health presentation. I would recognize Zach Shepard, VIA Community Relations Regional Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to come before you tonight, share some updates of things going on at our organization, but then also across the state with respect to Medicaid transformation. Okay, we can move on. So I'm going to speak a little bit tonight about tailored plans. And tailored plans are a specialized Medicaid plan that are really set out to meet the needs of folks with severe needs and high-level needs with respect to mental health, substance use, and intellectual and developmental disabilities. These plans are made to cover all of a person's needs under one plan. This includes their services for physical health, mental health, substance use, developmental disabilities, traumatic brain injury needs, as well as pharmaceutical needs. These plans also come with the support of our tailored care managers, which we pride ourselves on. We have a great team there to help folks navigate the healthcare system. Okay, we can move along. And it's pretty busy times because as of July 1, we launched these plans and they went live across all 100 counties. So what exactly is a tailored plan? Like I said, it is a plan that is focused on covering those with severe mental health and substance use needs, intellectual and developmental disabilities, as well as traumatic brain injury. These folks will receive all of these services under one plan, and you'll see here in a minute that a lot of things, there are some changes coming for folks that are used to receiving their Medicaid from VIA Health, but there's a lot that stay in the same. Okay, we can move along. Here is a current map of the tailored plans across the state. There are currently 4 tailored plans, and VIA Health is one of those. And you can see the counties that in our coverage area that we cover. All right, tailored plan management. So letters started to go out in, I believe, late April, early May, mid-April, to folks who would qualify for these plans, giving them more information about their Medicaid benefits. There is, I will say, only one tailored plan per county. And those have been assigned from that previous map I showed to the 4 different MCOs that are operating a tailored plan. Okay, so what does this mean for folks? What's new? So we've been working now for the past couple of years since we knew that this was coming, this launch was coming. We've been working to build a robust provider network with doctors and specialists to be covered. Folks need to be looking right now if they're eligible for a tailored plan at their primary care physician and if they are in network or not. Folks can change that up until January 31st of 2025. This would also mean for folks that are used to getting coverage under a Medicaid standard plan, this will mean more covered services. So more intensive services, more high-level services will be covered under this plan. Plan will cover the same services as before for intellectual developmental disabilities, mental health, substance use. If folks are on a wait list for an innovations waiver or a TBI waiver, they're going to be able to keep that spot on the wait list. And if folks are used to working with a particular care manager, they get to keep their same care manager, and none of that will change. So here's a list of some of the more intensive services, more enhanced services that come covered under tailored plans. So these are some examples of services that will only be covered by Medicaid under tailored plan. So we have rolled out our behavioral health crisis line. We continue to operate our member and recipient services line. We now have a pharmacy line, a nursing line, and a non-emergency Medicaid transportation line. So folks can contact us and get connected to these services through our member and recipient services line. So also there's a few perks for folks that are members of our tailored plan, which we're calling Via Total Care. These perks include wellness perks for meals, hospital care, vaccines, pregnancy perks, GED perks for education vouchers and tutoring, as well as support for college credits. Safety perks for home safety and assistance equipment, and then, of course, non-medical transportation. So members can get up to 24 trips per year to go to grocery stores, markets, libraries, et cetera. And then we also have our non-emergency Medicaid transportation, which will transport members to their physical and behavioral health appointments. So for those who are not familiar with tailored care management, these are some of the services that these care managers can offer folks. Like I said, they really help people navigate a complex system, arranging appointments, child care, support with health issues, housing options, prevention programs, home maintenance, transitions out of a hospital or nursing facilities, and transportation. All right, I threw a lot of information at you there. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Well, the biggest thing that I see is if they opt out of it, I mean, not opt out of it, but if they already have a primary care, then they'll be able to keep that once they're into what they choose. Is that correct?
If their primary care provider is in our network, then they will be able to keep that. That's something that we're encouraging folks to look at right now while we're still in that window of time where they can choose their primary care provider to check and see if they are in network.
And where would they go to find all this information out?
They can go to our website, viahealth.com, or they can call our member and recipient services line.
Yeah, a lot of information. Is there ability for maybe to add who they have to this, or is that not?
Yes. So I don't think that's off the table. I think that would have to, of course, be a negotiation with the practice and with our provider network folks, but that is definitely not off the table.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I will follow up on the question he asked you. So if it's a family that's on Medicaid and they have another child, is that child automatically covered?
That's a good question. That would
I mean,
probably,
because based on what you just said, I mean, to his question, somebody would have to make that decision. Whereas if you just have normal Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I have a new child, that child's covered. So
sure.
I think that people that are on Medicaid that may want a child, but, I mean, because that can happen, then I think that they should have the opportunity to receive the benefits even, I mean, that could get, and I know not many young people are on Medicaid, but at the same time, should that happen?
Sure, sure. And the eligibility and application process will not change. So anyone applying for Medicaid will go through the normal route, go into DSS, or go in to the ePass website and doing an application. And then the eligibility will be determined through the Department of Social Services, just like it always has been.
So if they needed help with this, they could stop by social services and they'd help them, tell them where to go,
Yes, sir.
what to do.
If they wanted to apply, they could definitely stop by Social Services and they'll help them out.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, y'all offer a lot of good things for the county too, and I appreciate what you're doing with the, housing, the different things that can be available, the mental health and all of that through VI. And, I think it's a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you. We hope to improve on it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate y'all.
We do appreciate what Maya does for our folks. Moving on, next item on the agenda is Health Department Special Update. I would recognize Billy Walker, Health Director, and Caitlin Graves, Health Educator.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to come and take the time to speak to you about the Tobacco 21 laws and supporting them in North Carolina. Next slide. Okay. Billy?
She needs to pull the mic down closer to her.
Ms. Billy, I'll say just the mic, just to make sure the radio and internet can hear you well.
This is not our normal meeting, but we are coming here tonight to do the Tobacco 21 resolution and a 2023-2024 end-of-year outcome summaries, just to give you an update and to meet our accreditation benchmarks. So I'm going to let Katie start, and then I'll end.
Next slide. So before I begin on Tobacco 21, I just want to clarify that what I'm asking of the board and what I'm asking of the community is to sign a letter of support for Tobacco 21 laws in North Carolina and to also sign a resolution letter. Next slide. So the goals in North Carolina for Tobacco 21 laws. Ultimately, I am requesting this to protect our minors. This is going to reduce the rates of nicotine and e-cigarette usage for our middle and high schoolers and anyone that is under the age of 21. And this can potentially delay nicotine use altogether and stop a lifelong addiction before it starts. And this has been evidence proven by the other states who have followed suit. Okay, so goals. Of course, we want to improve merchant education efforts. Having this T21 laws will allow us to do that. Also allowing states to inspect for responsible retail practices. So I'll get into what that letter of support speaks about a bit more, but the main things are raising the legal age of sale for tobacco from 18 to 21 to follow into compliance with the federal law for North Carolina, and then also requiring permitting for tobacco. This will also protect our law-abiding retailers by holding the non-compliant ones more accountable. The main thing that ties in with that is retaining our sub-G funds. So I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But we get about $5.2 million a year as a state for these sub-G funds for tobacco prevention and control. So that'd be a huge loss if we didn't retain those. So Tobacco 21 laws, just a rough overview. In December of 2019, the House of Representatives passed House Bill 2411 of the 116th Congress. And basically what this means is that they increased the federal sale of tobacco from 18 to 21. However, not every single state followed suit with raising their state laws. About 7 states have yet to follow into sync with the federal law, and unfortunately, North Carolina is one of them. Our alcohol law enforcement people, they can only enforce North Carolina law, which is still 18 for tobacco. There are also no permitting laws in North Carolina, so it's really impossible for us as a health department and for these agencies to track and monitor the sale of tobacco in North Carolina. So the Signer Amendment. This amendment was originally initiated in 1992 to prevent the sale of tobacco to minors, anyone under 18. When the House Bill 2411 was passed, it went into sync with this so that federally, no tobacco could be sold to anyone under 21. So if anyone is out of compliance, at least 20% non-compliance, they are at risk of losing the Sub-G grant funds. So as you can see listed here, North Carolina in 2023, we were within our non-compliance rate. We didn't go over that 20% non-compliance. Unfortunately, in 2024, that fiscal year, we were out of compliance. We were 21% non-compliance, which is just unfortunately one tick above. So that means we are right now at a chance to lose 10% of our funds. We can potentially, if this non-compliance continues, lose up to 40% of our funds. Next slide. So why does this matter? Like I said, this is for the protection of our minors. North Carolina did see a 5-time increase in e-cigarette usage from 2011 to 2019, before that bill was passed. And that's for both high schoolers and middle schoolers. Their rates just kept going up, up, up with e-cigarette usage. The National Youth Tobacco Survey, the federal rate for self-reported high schoolers who use tobacco has dropped 21% since 2021. So after that amendment was passed, it started to slowly decline. Now, if you look more towards the right, if we compare more recent statistics, 2023 for the federal and the North Carolina, you'll see that 10% of high schoolers are self-identified e-cigarette users in the federal. But for North Carolina, we're at almost 24% of high schoolers. So unfortunately, our 2023 statistics show that our failure in North Carolina to sync with our federal law is having a negative impact on our youth. So a little bit more about why it matters. There's currently no permitting laws in North Carolina for tobacco sale, not for 18, not for 21. We have laws that are for guns and alcohol, but for some reason we don't have any laws for tobacco sale, even though we know all of the negative health consequences of it. So if we did have permits, like I said earlier, we'd be able to track and monitor the sale of tobacco, which means we can also monitor our compliance better. We'd be able to prevent that non-compliance for the retailers, and this also rewards those who are compliant, those who properly follow the law, and then we can monitor retail pricing locally to benefit those who are legally allowed to use tobacco. So unfortunately, these places that are non-compliant, when the study was done in 2023 for North Carolina on non-compliance, they found that in addition to selling tobacco to youth, there were other violations on top of that, such as operating gambling machines, buying large quantities of e-cigarettes to sell across state lines, selling counterfeit products, counterfeit labeling of marijuana for the sale of CBD, selling fake urine for evasion of drug detection, and selling drug paraphernalia and illicit prescription drugs. So they kind of go hand in hand. So the letter of support and the resolution. So the main things that this will do, if you choose to sign the letter of resolution, or the letter of support and the resolution, are to raise North Carolina's sale of tobacco from 18 to 21 to sync with federal law, and then require tobacco permitting for all the retailers in North Carolina. Ultimately, like I said, this is for the protection of our minors. It's going to reduce that use of e-cigarettes and other harmful tobacco products for the youth and prevent a whole new generation from ever trying tobacco products. And we've seen this in the other states that have already gone into sync with federal. So it is evidence-based and it is proven. So moving forward, we've already had several coalitions and individuals and businesses sign these letters of support. But I think for our county, it'd be so much more impactful if our commissioners would sign as well. So what we need from you is, of course, to sign this letter of support. Now, copies of this did get sent out to y'all last week for review. Those letters of support will all get compiled, and I'll send them to the state, to Ray Reardon with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services Tobacco Prevention and Control Branch. He's going to work with the North Carolina Alliance for Health to advocate for a stronger bill in the upcoming legislative season for that Tobacco 21 law and permitting. So what I ask of y'all in the community is to sign that letter and the resolution and help spread the word to advocate for Tobacco 21 laws. Next slide. So, as I said, those letters and that resolution was sent out to y'all last week. Do y'all have any questions for me before you adopt the resolution and sign the letter of support?
So really, the e-vaping and all that that's not available at the high school? Is that going on in county schools, or is that they're doing it outside the school? You mentioned the youth that were, vaping.
Absolutely. So unfortunately, this is an issue going on in our schools. Our Port Community Paramedic, he has received buckets of vapes from our schools, and we're now using those to display so that parents can use them for information and see. There's e-cigarettes that are like highlighters, and that are like pens, and they're specifically targeting our youth so that they can get away with using these products. So it is unfortunately in our county, and our youth are using them.
Okay.
I have a question. So this is in regards to vaping, but also in regards to actual tobacco. My question is this. I'm all about protecting kids. However, there's a however here. You can serve this country in the military at age 17 if your parents signed for you, because I'm one of those. So you can die for this country at 18, but we're going to tell those folks they can't smoke or chew, dip, while they're serving our country, unless they're on a federal reserve, and then the federal would go by their rules. So I'm just being honest, you're losing me there simply because of
Absolutely.
that.
I think it's the same as alcohol. You have to weigh the cost of benefit and whether it works for you and for the protection of our minors.
Explain to me, if you don't mind, ma'am, explain to me the permitting piece.
So for gun laws, or for guns and tobacco, any retailers have to receive a permit in order to be able to sell guns and alcohol, like an alcohol license. Unfortunately, tobacco retailers, they don't have to have any kind of permitting. They can just select to sell tobacco.
Because, I mean, this is crazy, but I always thought that you did have to, I mean, I've never had a convenience store, never owned a, but I thought you had, I thought convenience store had, or whomever had to have a license or to sell tobacco products.
Yeah, they should federally, but North Carolina law does not have a permitting.
Well, and it's funny, I mean, I have a 24-year-old daughter and a 21-year-old daughter, soon to be 22. And we've had this conversation, and neither of my daughters I'm talking about smoke or vape, because they know I wouldn't think very highly of that, neither would their mother. And they're still on my payroll. That makes sense. But I just remember at some point, we were talking about age, and they both told me, they were like, no, you gotta be 21 to buy tobacco. And like, and if I go, and I've noticed in convenience stores, I mean, there are little signs that say you have to be 21 to buy tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're saying is,
So our ALE.
that's not state law, that's federal law.
Yes. So federal law does supersede state law, of course, but in terms of our compliance, if we're outside of that, then we'll lose our funds.
Right.
But for North Carolina, we're still a T18 state, so we're not in sync with the federal law. So technically, retailers can be out of compliance up to 20% if our law doesn't state so, and the ALE can't enforce that. But if North Carolina law says we're T21, ALE can now enforce it, and we have to be 100% compliant. And that's it.
And I would imagine North Carolina being one of the 7 states that holds out is because North Carolina historically has been a tobacco-producing state. I mean, Winston-Salem was built by cigarettes.
Winston cigarette.
Wake Forest University and, Reynolds Coliseum and, I mean, I'm not a proponent of, not saying that it's a cool thing to smoke cigarettes, that's what I'm saying. But I'm sure that has some weight in Raleigh as to why we're one of the ones that remains.
How much money, just roughly, 10% you said we could potentially lose Just how much money is that? Do you have any idea?
I don't know the statistics of how that breaks down, but it's 5.2 million is roughly what we receive, and we're potentially going to receive more for the 25 fiscal year, so whatever 10% of that
Be
would be.
several dollars. Yep.
Yeah, a good chunk
$500,000 or more.
of funds that go towards tobacco prevention, education, those kind of things, even substance as well is tied into that. Now, that's separate from our opioid settlement funds.
This is a general statement. I love how, our hands are forced by the powers that be. You know, I'm a Ronald Reagan guy, which means I don't think the government should be involved in anything it doesn't absolutely have to be involved in. You know, and I know as a society, we have failed as parents, and we're not policing our children the way we should. And, you know, and it's the breakdown of the family, and it's, you know, a lot of things that have caused some of the issues that we deal with. But I love how they say, oh, wait, you're not going to get your money anymore unless, you know. And you know, this, please don't take this in any way, shape, or form at you. You know, it's just frustrating to me that I mean, I'm all for protecting our children. I think the best way to do that is to jerk a knot in some adults. But.
We'll put you on that team.
Do what?
We'll put you on that team then.
You know.
So we're out of compliance at 18 years. So if we raise it to 21, we're gonna be way out of compliance, right?
No, that would do away with the
The issue of
issue of
noncompliance.
not complying. Because the state of North Carolina, the state's law would match the
Supersede.
federal law.
Go into sync with it.
So
yes.
there wouldn't be any, hey, you're not in compliance anymore because the laws are the same.
Now,
This is an issue, I mean, this issue obviously has to be, I mean, voted on in Raleigh by, I mean, you know, the House and Senate, and then signed off by the governor, which I'm sure there's still quite a bit of lobby power.
Well, that, I mean, and that's what these letters of support would do. is
Right.
If you are for it.
Right.
They would help rally in that effort.
Yeah. I don't know.
Might as well do it now, as later.
Well, if there's no other discussion or pointless rambling, and I'm speaking of myself, gentlemen, I would ask for a motion pertaining to the Tobacco 21 resolution.
I make a motion, we send a letter of support for the Tobacco 21. The resolution for support of the Tobacco 21. Thank you.
So it's a resolution.
I'll second.
Resolution and a letter.
It's a resolution and a
And a
letter.
letter, okay. Excuse me. Resolution and letter in support of Tobacco 21. I make a motion that we support that. I think I heard a second.
Kent, seconded. Any further discussion? Mr. Pennell, or Commissioner Pennell, I just want to say, when you started mentioning what you mentioned, I knew exactly where you were going, and I do agree. with your statement? Wholeheartedly? Although scientifically, human brain's not fully developed until, I don't know this for sure, I don't remember, but I want to say it's something like 25 to 28 years old. Mine's still not fully developed. Well, at least, if you ask my wife, she'll say that.
Mr. Chairman, the reason I seconded the motion, I sat there for 4 months and watched my brother struggle with lung cancer. And he was old enough to know better, but he started smoking way before that, and then was hooked and couldn't get off of it. So I just, I've got to support it.
Oh, I understand completely. Completely understand. At this, I'll say, we shall vote. All in favor of approval and/or signing of a resolution and letter supporting the Tobacco 21, please raise your right hand. 3-4-1. Marty's no. All opposed? Let's see.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You didn't have any idea that was going to be that fun, did you?
No.
I am going to review the 10 essential services for public health. And this is just the activities that we have to undertake in all of our communities. And we get funding for these each year, so we have to make sure that we meet certain criteria in each of these categories. And we have to turn in at the end of each year, at the end of each fiscal year, we have to do a survey to the state and say that we've met these categories. So I'm going to explain this to you and give you what we have done this year so that you know, and this will meet one of our accreditation benchmarks. So for number one, monitoring health status to identify and solve community health problems. We have been monitoring the opioid epidemic. We have been monitoring the health and safety of food in the restaurants and the food establishments, and we do continual monitoring of communicable diseases. Number two, diagnose and investigate health problems and health hazards. A lot of these are continual that we do all year long, but we continually monitor communicable disease and preparedness planning in the community with various partners. Number three, inform, educate, and empower people about health issues. We educated the faith-based community this year. We partnered with the Port team and went into different churches in the community, and we educated them on the substance use disorder. I think we went into 6-7 churches this year, so that was new for us. We also go into the schools and we educate them on the dangers of substance use and vaping. We did STD and teen pregnancy prevention in schools, and we did diabetic education in a marginalized community. That was new this year as well. Number four is mobilize community partnerships and action to identify and solve health problems. We were the lead role in the substance use committee, and we brought partners to the table. We worked with the senior center, teaching and educating our seniors, and we established the local information team, which was important because that brought all the PIOs in our different departments together so that we're putting the same information out when there's an event. Number five is develop policies and plans that support individual and community health efforts. That is a continual process of annually developing policies and plans, and that's through preparedness planning. 6, enforce laws and regulations that protect health and ensure safety. That's a continual process throughout the year. 7, link people to needed personal health services and assure the provision of health care when otherwise unavailable, and we do that through behavioral health, through the port, through WIC, and through our CMARC and CHARP. Number 8, assure competent public and personal health care workforce. A lot of our staff did mental health first aid training with adult and youth this year, and we actually were able to open up that to community partners, and we did that at the health department this year. I did the public health law training, and then I came back and I trained my management staff as well. The public information officer was trained. We ensure all of our licensed staff that they are up to date with all the required trainings and certificates. Number 9, evaluate effectiveness of accessibility and quality of personal and population-based health services. We do patient satisfaction surveys. We review complaints monthly and assess where changes are needed. And we do a family plan and quality improvement plan. Number 10, research for new insight and innovative solutions to health problems. This one's hard for us because we don't have a university to partner with in our community. So the only thing that we do there is that our dentist, she is on the board with UNC Chapel Hill. So that one's sort of hard. So our workforce development, midway half through last year, I came and talked to y'all about partnering with Western Carolina and opening up an opportunity for an intern through their environmental health program. And I did this little graph to let you sort of see how we are as far as our workforce development. So we have 42 positions and we have 38 employees. So our vacancy rate was 10.53%. And I put what our male versus female and our white and Hispanic. And if you'll see our greater than 50 years old, we are about 40%. So I also did this one just for fun, just to show you how the ages are. So our Generation X is our largest workforce in our health department. So that's 44 and older. So summary of services, these are unduplicated program numbers. So that means only one patient was counted. And so like for dental, those people may have come twice or even more than twice, so they were only counted one time. So this is our number for every program. So we stayed very busy. My last thing for tonight is the bad debt write-off, and I sent this for you to review as well. We have to bring this to you twice a year, and this is for the dates are from January 1st of 2024 through June 30th of 2024. So this is what I'm asking for y'all to write off for us. Any questions?
How does that compare to years prior to?
Last
The
year.
bad debt write-offs.
Last time it was 2943, so it's better this year than it was last time.
Well, this is only 6 months, correct?
Yeah, that was last 6 months, I'm sorry.
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
Mhm.
okay.
And then I think before that, we didn't have a write-off before that. That last 6 months, we didn't have a write-off.
Gentlemen, I would ask for a motion pertaining to the bad debt write-off.
Make a motion to approve the bad debt write-off as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? If not, all in favor of the bad debt write-off, please raise your right hand. Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Good.
Thanks, good job.
Thank you, ma'am. Keep up the good work. Next item on the agenda is Housing Our Teachers Project Construction Bid Award Recommendation. I would recognize Connie Kincaid, who is our Business Development Manager.
Commissioners, Mr. Falconberry, Ms. Starnes, thank you for listening to us this evening. Construction bids were opened on June 28th for the rehabilitation of the county-owned 1919 building located at 16 West Main Avenue in Taylorsville. The bid tabulation and the bid recommendation letter from Mauer Architecture is in your packet. The architect recommends your acceptance of the lowest bid from Halco Contractors in the amount of $586,876. Thank you for your consideration.
Isn't it amazing? The difference in my laptop's on what we're at. There you go. Yep. I got it. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the low bid as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I do have one bit of discussion or question. Are we familiar with Halco at all? I mean, do we know?
He was researched by the architect, the architectural firm, as part of his bid package.
No, this amazes me. And I call it the government bidding process, and I'm just, some of you may remember, we bid this project. How long ago was that? It's been a year.
A year ago.
Year ago or so.
In June.
Okay, a year ago in June.
Same date, 23.
Has the scope of work been changed?
No, sir.
Okay, this is what amazes me. So the scope of work has not changed. When we put it out for bids the first time, we got one bid. And if I remember, it was about $1.4 million. Is that?
I think that's close, I think.
And I remember.
It was $1,099,000.
Oh, okay, it was $1,099,000.
Yes,
I
sir.
swear I thought it was 1.4. Okay. Regardless, we had grant funding, and correct me if I'm wrong, in the amount of $650,000.
Yes, sir.
So we had grant funding in the amount of $650,000, which means if we would have taken that bid at that time, Alexander County, AKA the taxpayers, would have footed the bill for, using round numbers, $400,000. We all felt that bid was rather high, to say the least. We now rebid it. And that $650,000 number, the grant funding, that number wasn't, that number wasn't completely arbitrary. I mean, there was some basis to that number. Magically, a year later, we get 3 bids, and one of the bids is under that $650,000 grant amount. And $400,000 cheaper than the best bid we had a year ago. So gentlemen, I'm glad we didn't move forward with that a year ago.
At least we got some room with this, you know, the grants for 650, right? Okay.
So as I say, this is this, in my opinion, is fabulous. This is great. I mean, this is great compared to where we were before.
Right.
So we have a motion and a second.
I'll second the motion.
Already have.
Yeah, we already have a second. We had a motion and a second. I was just discussing.
I'll third it
Sorry about
then,
that.
so.
Any other discussion, any additional discussion? If not, all in favor of approval of the Halco contractor's bid as presented, please raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lonnie, I just
Thank you.
want to say I appreciate the hard work you did on this and the staff, the work they did in order to go back and get these things done. And
There
I
were
know
a
you did
lot of people
of-
working very hard to make this
Right, and I
project.
know y'all did a lot of investigative work and reached out to a lot of people to get this to happen, and thank you and the staff so much for what you did.
Thank you.
And what's gonna happen is Alexander County is gonna own a completely renovated, very nice building that has needed major renovation for a long time at no expense to Alexander County or its residents, which is the way we like it. So, great job. I'll say I'd recognize Connie Kincaid for our next item, which is the America 250 NC presentation.
Thank you. In 2026, America will celebrate our semi-quincentennial. A national committee called America 250 has been formed to coordinate this upcoming commemoration. Through the initiative of the Historic Preservation Commission, with the approval of former county manager Shane Fox, Alexander County became part of the national effort. In North Carolina, the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources is leading the statewide effort. The state's goal is to have all 100 counties participate. So to voice the participation of Alexander County in the America 250 North Carolina commemoration, we request you consider and adopt the resolution that's before you. The state also asks that each county designate one official committee. And we thank you for considering and appointing Alexander County's Historic Preservation Commission to serve as our America 250 committee. The committee will then encourage participation from a broad cross-section of county citizens to plan and organize programs and activities around this America 250 commemoration. We appreciate your consideration.
Yeah, I'll say, should I read the resolution just for everyone to, or have someone read it? I will read the resolution.
I have a paper copy.
You got a paper copy, that'd be great, because it's gonna be bigger than what's on my little screen. And I turned 29 a few years ago, and since then, my eyes aren't as good as they used to be. All right, so the resolution states, resolution of Alexander County recognizing and approving the Alexander County Official America 250 NC Committee. A resolution of Alexander County, North Carolina, supporting the America 250 NC Committee for the United States Semi-Quincentennial America 250 NC. Whereas Roy Cooper, Governor of North Carolina, created America 250 NC to plan, encourage, develop, and coordinate the commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the United States and North Carolina's integral role in that event and the role of its people on the nation's past, present, and future. And whereas America 250 has a mission to engage all North Carolinians and all 100 counties through their many signatures and officially recognized programs, projects, and events over the commemoration by inspiring future leaders and celebrating North Carolina's contributions to the nation over the last 250 years. And whereas by adoption of America 250 NC's mission, the Alexander County Committee is officially formed to achieve the goals of America 250 NC. Now whereas be it resolved that the County of Alexander hereby endorses America 250 NC and its mission by officially establishing an America 250 NC committee made up of a diverse group of citizens to work with America 250 NC on any and all activities. The participants of the Alexander County Committee will be strictly voluntary roles, and there will be no compensation for participation. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution will be sent to the Alexander County Legislative Delegation and the America 250 NC Committee, potentially adopted this 15th day of July 2024, signed by myself and attested by our clerk to the board, Jamie Starnes. Gentlemen, what is your pleasure?
Make a motion to accept the resolution.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second in approval of the resolution recognizing and approving Alexander County's official America 250 NC Committee. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hands. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda is designation of voting delegate for the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Annual Conference. I would nominate Commissioner Larry Yoder to be our voting delegate at the NCACC conference. And I do that in the form of a motion.
I'll second the motion.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of Commissioner Larry Yoder being our voting delegate at the NCACC Annual Conference, please raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next item is a resolution authorizing Kroger opioid settlement. I would recognize Interim County Manager Ben Falconberry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A recent national settlement with Kroger, which owns and operates Harris Teeter Supermarkets in North Carolina, has been entered into through our Attorney General's office and various other states' attorneys generals. It stands to bring in an additional $40 million in additional opioid settlement funding, with Alexander County's proportional share being approximately $174,000. It is believed these funds will be made available during this fiscal year, assuming all counties participate in this settlement. This resolution authorizes me to execute all documents necessary to enter into this additional settlement. It's the same terms and conditions as the original supplemental agreement for additional funds, which, as you recall, was for the second round of settlements with various pharmacies, nationwide pharmacies. This agreement extends those basic terms from the original MOA the county has already entered pursuant to those previous settlements. Again, that we have to use this money for specific purposes to address the opioid epidemic in Alexander County, which we have done through our funding of report paramedic program, as well as some other eligible projects. So the resolution reads as follows. whereas the opioid overdose epidemic has taken the lives of of more than 37,000 North Carolinians since 2000, and the COVID-19 pandemic has compounded the opioid overdose crisis, increasing levels of drug misuse, addiction, and overdose death. And the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimate the total economic burden of prescription opioid misuse alone is $78.5 billion a year. Certain counties and municipalities in North Carolina join with thousands of local governments across the country to file lawsuits against opioid manufacturers, pharmaceutical distribution companies, and chain drugstores to hold those companies accountable for their misconduct. And a settlement has been reached in litigation against Kroger Company, as well as its subsidiaries, affiliates, officers, and directors named in the Kroger settlement, and representatives of local North Carolina governments, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, and the North Carolina Department of Justice have negotiated and prepared a second supplemental agreement for additional funds to provide for the equitable distribution of the proceeds of these settlements. And joining the settlements and approving the additional agreement, the state and local governments maximize North Carolina's share of opioid settlement funds to ensure the needed resources reach our communities. It is advantageous to all of us North Carolinians for local governments, including Alexander County and its residents, to sign on to these settlements and agreements and demonstrate solidarity in response to the opioid overdose crisis. The supplemental agreement directs substantial resources over multiple years to local governments on the front lines of the opioid overdose epidemic, while ensuring that these resources are used in an effective way. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Alexander County hereby authorizes the county manager to execute all documents necessary to enter into the settlement agreements with Kroger, including the additional agreement for funding, and to provide such documents to the implementation administrator. Again, the $174,000, it will be spread out across numerous years, just as our previous settlements.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of approving the resolution authorizing Kroger opioid settlement, please raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And like I say, every county and city and town and all over needs as much help with that fight as possible, so that's a good thing. Next item, budget ordinance amendments numbers 1 through 4. And Mr. Falconberry, after you go through those, I think we will vote individually on
Yes, sir.
each, please.
I'll go one at a time. Budget ordinance amendment number 1 is to amend the general fund expenditures and estimated revenues with a net increase of expenditures of $242,597 from the general fund. And that is to increase the Register of Deeds office budget for round 1, which was $2,000, and round 2, which is $2,714 of a state grant award that requires a 100% local match requirement. The grant is for preservation of historic records and files. It's also to increase the senior center budget due to a reallocation of ARPA congregate nutrition grant funds from the Western Piedmont Council of Governments. There's no local match required for these funds. It's also to increase the animal services budget for a dog box truck bed insert that was originally budgeted for last year, but there's been some delays with the manufacturer. It is anticipated to be here during this fiscal year, so that's just carry over from a previous budget. It's estimated to be available in October, which will be a fiscal year 2025 expense. It's also to increase the sheriff's office budget for the use of federal equitable share funds and state unauthorized substance tax funds for the purchase of an armored truck, which has previously been before this board. These federal and state drug funds must be used to increase the law enforcement budget. Fund balance is being used for this budget amendment because these special funds were received in a prior budget year and are in the fund balance. We're just transferring them from one year to the next. It's also to increase the library budget for one-time grant funds received from the ARPA State Fiscal Recovery Funds. That's budget amendment number 1.
Gentlemen, excuse me, gentlemen, budget amendment number 1 has been presented. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Amendment number 1 passes unanimously.
Thank you. Budget amendment number 2 is to amend the general fund expenditures, $92,037. This is to increase the general fund budget for fiscal year 2025 workers' compensation and property and liability insurance premiums that exceeded the original budget estimates. Those original budget estimates had a cushion originally budgeted, but this has exceeded that cushion by $92,037.
Mr. Fogberry, I'll ask you a question on this one. Our workers' comp runs July 1 to June 30.
That's correct.
How much notice did we have of the increase?
We were presented with quotes in either the last week in May or first week in June. That was when we were presented with the quotes on property and liability as well as workers' comp.
I mean, has the agent or broker given us any indication as to why the workers' comp increased as much as it did?
I have reached out to our broker as well as Key Risk, which is our policyholder. I was informed after I emailed them asking for a explanation as to why the rate, well, the premium has increased by 25%. The answer I was given was that our payroll has gone up. Our payroll has gone up 9.41%. That's the increase in payroll. There's a E-mod and a discretionary renewal credit that Key Risk, our policyholder, implements. And the discretionary credit is optional, but Key Risk utilized on a control of exposures and good prior experience. We've had a good history. There was one
Which
year.
is one reason I'm asking this question, because
Right.
I know just, you know, in a previous career, I was in the insurance business, and, you know, I don't understand but, yeah.
To be honest, I don't have a solid answer for you. I know insurance rates throughout the state have gone up. That was another explanation.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'm kind of like you. I don't like this. I can understand their salaries have increased, but you're looking at over a 30% increase in workman's comp. And I don't buy just the salary deal. But where we're at today, I don't know that we have a choice. We have to have insurance.
Right, and that's.
That's correct.
And that's one of the frustrating things about, hey, we didn't know this was gonna happen and didn't have any information about it until 1st of June.
I mean, what gets me in 2023, we were at 290. Last year, we were at 250, 852. We had a reduction. And now come back and be hit with this, kindly upsets me.
When do we pay our insurance? Do we pay it one time? Do we pay it
It's an
quarterly, semi?
It's an annual premium.
It is annual.
Mr.
Is there a
Chairman?
possibility to keep insurance on us by doing a quarter? And in the meantime, can we shop that out or not?
I'm not sure. I don't think so, but I can certainly look into that. I think,
Mr. Chairman, if I could speak to this, like I said, I don't like budget amendments, I don't like increases. I was able to reach out to the local agent. The local agent, though, did not have any control over our workers' comp. It's the same carrier that's been with the county for probably more than 10 years. And it's, I think Trident is who they said. The increase on all lines was 12% above anything else. That was a statewide increase. And, well, Hiller Ringman is who has our property and manages it. He's just the agent of record. Trident didn't release any information to them until, it was already too late to do a RFQ. But he assured me that they would RFQ this, they can do it going forward this year. They couldn't last year because of the time limit and how the other carrier didn't release it. But, they're aware too, they live in the county, so they're gonna try to get the best rate for us. But I kind of pressed him on, why this was, and he said he had reached out to Trident, but they wouldn't send him a complete breakdown of where the, increases came from. So, but I'm sure if they shop it out this time, with our year running July to July, they got to start really in January to get a good, quote on it. So that's basically the only thing that I can, can really speak to. But, we've got to have insurance. So, all we can do is really accept this, and then we will do RFQs, going forward.
I would expect next year
Yeah,
to
they'll
have
have
more
plenty
time
of
to have a
time to,
discussion.
I don't like to think about it, but, how things are. Trident probably realized they were gonna lose this, so, that might be something that they did, but I can't say for sure. But-
Right, that, I have no,
But apparently, there's not been much communication to our agent of record and to them. I think along with our finance department, I don't think they've gotten a whole lot of information either, from Trident.
Well, the thing that I don't understand is workers' comp is based on, the basically the state approves a rate. And every single company has, that's the rate every company, uses, because that's the rate they have to use. Now, there are, and it's based on, I know at least in my business, in my industry, the more dangerous a job, the more dangerous an employee's job, the higher, the higher the rate for that activity or, for what they do. And yes, there is a, I guess you say the EMOD, which is an experience factor or experience modification, where if the rate for, using an example from construction, say the rate for a roofer is, 0.265. Well, basically what that means is for every $100 that employee is paid, the employer pays $26.50 in workers' comp. And I'm not being crazy with those rates, by the way, because roofers actually, that may be low for currently, I don't know. But then there, that EMOD, they make, or experience factor, depending on previous claims, when you take a policy out, you start at 1.0. which means whatever the rate is what you pay. And then, if you go a couple years and don't have any claims, then, they may give you an experience modification of 0.9, which means basically you're getting a 10% discount on, the published rates. Or if you've had if you had a major claim or major claims, you may be at 1.2, 1.2 or whatever it is. And what I don't get, I understand if the Commissioner of Insurance allowed a rate increase statewide, but I don't understand, and I understand that our payroll's up because it had to be. But like I say, that's a major jump. But it's, it is what it is, and we definitely cannot afford to go without, because, say we had an employee that, had a horrible accident and was, I hate to say this, but there are worse things than death. And, we had someone that was hurt really badly, and it could cost Alexander County, there's no limit to what it could cost. So,
Well, I would trust that, moving forward, we've got a excellent county manager who's going to be coming into the county that can work with our agent of record, do the RFQs going forward, and get things into line for us.
hint, hint. All right. Gentlemen, we will vote on budget amendment number 2 at this time. Do I have a motion pertaining to budget ordinance amendment number 2?
I make a motion to approve budget amendment as given, reluctantly, but I will make that motion.
I'm gonna second it, but we will be looking at some insurance.
Yeah.
Any discussion? I would just say I agree. And one thing that I think is very important, that I think is really important, and I would say this to anybody out, anybody out there, not just pertaining to municipal workers' comp, but it's a good idea to shop your insurance on a regular basis, like Mr. Reese, who was in the insurance industry, says every 3 to 5 years. Insurance companies tend to get complacent, and I just think it's beneficial to do that, and that's something that we need to do. We need to do on a regular basis. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Three to two. Oh, all opposed? I'm sorry, I was 4.
That's all right.
I'm
if
used to
that
right.
hit me at home on insurance, I know exactly what would happen. There ain't no way I'd pay that. That's just ridiculous. They should have had it to us before the budget was due. Don't care who it was, doesn't bother me not one bit. If you can't do your job, then find somebody that can. That's all I got to say.
Thank you much.
All right, budget
Budget ordinance number 3, please.
Thank you. Budget ordinance amendment number 3 is to amend the solid waste fund, which will result in a net increase of $4,154 in the expenditures in the solid waste fund. That's to increase the solid waste budget for workers' compensation, property liability insurance premiums that exceeded the original estimates. It's the same. It's just a separate fund. Instead of the general fund, this is for insurance out of the solid waste fund.
Do I have a, do we have a motion?
Make a motion, we approve budget ordinance number 3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously.
Budget ordinance amendment number 4 is to amend the 2022 State Appropriations Act Grant Fund and Park Improvements Project Fund, which will result in a net increase of $692.06 in the expenditures from that fund, and a net increase of the same in the expenditures of the Park Improvements Project Fund. This is to budget for closeout of the 2022 State Appropriations Act Grant Fund and transfer the project-to-date interest earned to the Parks Improvement Project Fund to reimburse for Bethlehem Park project expenses. It's more or less a bookkeeping budget ordinance.
Do we have a motion? I
Make
might-
a motion to approve number 4.
Second. Any discussion? I'll say $692 out of $2.3 million, that's not too
That's
bad.
not-
I'll just say that.
No, we just ate, so.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Falconberry. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Members of the board, well, you've had the opportunity to familiarize yourself with the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve consent agenda as given to us.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of approval of the consent agenda, please raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously. I would recognize Interim County Manager Ben Falconberry again for our county manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Saturday, July 20th is a busy day here in the county. It's the next performance at our Courthouse Park Summer Concert Series. The Extraordinaires will be playing. That's at 7 p.m. It's a free concert. Fireworks will follow at 9:45 p.m. at the high school practice field as we continue to celebrate Independence Day. Also on Saturday, from 8 to 2, is a special farmers market at the Senior Center here in Taylorsville, where it'll be Christmas in July. Come out and support your local vendors. There'll be crafts, fresh produce, and food trucks on hand. I'd also like to acknowledge my appreciation for our Public Information Officer, Gary Herman, who traveled to Morganton tonight to be our representative at a meeting for comments on Charlotte Water's request for an interbasin transfer of millions of gallons of water daily from the Catawba River to the Rocky River Basin. Alexander County firmly stands in opposition to this request. We have signed a resolution as such, as it will take much needed natural resources from us to support Charlotte's expansion to our detriment. So I'd just like to thank Mr. Herman for making the trip to Morganton tonight. That would be the report.
Thank you, Mr. Falconberry. I would like to echo the statement made by the interbasin, about the statement made pertaining to the interbasin transfer. Just so happens that we had our regular monthly meeting scheduled, and, and it was the same night as the interbasin transfer meeting in Morganton. If that had not been the case, several of us would have gone to voice our opinion, but we do appreciate Gary for going in our stead and voicing our opinion. Next item on the agenda is to go into, go into closed session. per North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 pertaining to, or for the conversations and items pertaining to economic development, contractual, and personnel issues. I would ask for a motion to go into closed session.
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of going to closed session, please raise your right hand.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate you sticking it out with us. And we will go into closed session, and we will reconvene for the purpose of adjournment only. No action will be taken. Thank you.